Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Udderly Understandable. I've got Hamish with me here today. And Hamish, we've spoken before about optionality in the network, in our processing capabilities. But what about optionality in our sales book? Would you be able to talk us through that?
Yeah, sure. So let me just share a slide. Share. Okay. So look, I've got a little diagram that I prepared earlier. So I'll just explain the diagram a little bit first. So starting on the left-hand side, you've got total theoretical demand for products. So that would be all demand that basically all consumers have for, say, Homer powder, and globally. Then the next sort of column there is what I call unconstrained demand. So this is the portion of demand that a given company can access of that total theoretical demand. And this is less than total theoretical for a number of reasons, and that you might not have market access, you might not make the right specifications, whole range of sort of other reasons. Then moving into the middle of the diagram, the blue column is supply capacity of a given company. So as it kind of implies, that would be the total amount of Holland powder that, say, a company could make. Then moving across to looking essentially at the sales book, there's generally a number of components within a sales book. So you'll have some supply commitments. This might be for internal BUs, or it might be for some of your big strategic customers where you've got a long-term supply agreement. You'll then always have a portion of contracted sales, typically going out sort of 3 to 4 months, maybe a little bit longer. And then that leaves what I call uncommitted. And this is where you've got a degree of optionality sort of in there. So then if we skip to looking at the little arrows with the numbers against them. So essentially what I'm trying to demonstrate here is the different types of optionality as you move from left or right. So starting with demand optionality, that's basically the difference between your unconstrained demand and your supply capacity. And the reason you want your unconstrained demand to be greater than the supply capacity is, like, not all customers pay the same, not all customers require the same specs, etc. And so by having more demand than supply, it allows you to pick the most profitable demand. And obviously increasing your unconstrained demand would increase your optionality. Then moving across to point 2, so we're looking at that uncommitted portion of sales. And this is what I refer to as production optionality. And that's the ability to choose the most profitable product mix of products. And again, thinking about how can you increase that product mix flex, is you could reduce the rate of contracted sales and supply committed sales, and then that gives you greater flexibility. But obviously that comes at a trade-off, in that it also gives you less certainty. And then if we move across to point 3, I think of this as customer market optionality. So you've made the products, they're sitting in, or you've committed to make the products, but then you can choose which customers you allocate that to and which markets it goes to supply. So essentially it's a subset of demand optionality, but once the product mix has been locked in. So that's kind of how I like to think about it. There's also some definitions sort of down here on the right that people have had a chance to read during the talk, and I'll probably also look to put this up on our website. So that's it from me, Robbie.
No, thank you, Hamish. It's always good to remember that there is a price to certainty. The more we commit, the more we lock in, the more we constrain ourselves. Sometimes this is, good, particularly if we're building a new asset, an expensive asset. We want to make sure that it's going to be profitable, that it's going to, fill up. that it's going to be a worthwhile investment. However, we also don't want to handcuff ourselves so that we can't take advantage of other opportunities. So it's always important to remember there's a trade-off and a price to certainty. Vice versa, there's a price from no certainty as well. But thank you again, Hamish. Insightful as always, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Utterly Understandable.